Did you know that your business plan could be the one thing holding you back from launching a successful business this year? I am constantly hearing women tell me that they are going to start their coaching business when their business plan is finally done and put together. But the reality is they're just wasting time. If you are not applying for a loan, looking for investors, or completing a proposal for a massive corporate partnership, you're not going to use that business plan. All it's going to do is take you weeks to put together, and then it's going to sit on your laptop gathering the proverbial dust while you find another reason not to get started. So instead of wasting your time creating a long, detailed business plan for that coaching business, let me tell you step by step how to launch your coaching business in the next 30 days using connections that you already have. Now, first and foremost, I want you to know that you're only going to need like 3 key pieces of technology to make this work. You are going to need a community platform, and like something like a Facebook group will work just fine. But if you're like me and you're not a huge fan of Facebook at this point, you might want to use something like School, which I think is actually a pretty good platform for this purpose. You're also going to need a payment processor. Now, Stripe and Square are both very common payment processors, and they integrate with a lot of customer resource relationship management platforms, CRMs, and you're going to need one in the future. So if you start with a payment processor like Stripe or Square, you're already set up for success in the long run. And then you're going to need a video conferencing software. We know that Zoom is the GOAT, so don't make it complicated. Use what you already know how to use, okay? So you're gonna need 3 key pieces of tech to make this work, and none of them cost a ton of money. You can get this done for less than like $200 a month. So what is our first step? Our first step is going to be creating a rough map of the program. Now, let me be clear. I'm going to give you the simple framework that you're going to use, and then there's some questions you're going to have to ask yourself to really flesh it out. So here's the framework. Your program is going to include live training sessions with you, starting with a kickoff call that's going to happen on the first official launch day. You're going to have a community where the women in your program or the men in your program, whoever, where the clients in your program can interact with you and other members of the program. And then you're going to have a place where they can access session replays. Typically, you can do that inside of the platform if you're using a Facebook group, or if you're using School like I mentioned, you can put them right there inside the community. But that's it. Live training calls, community, access to the replays. Keep this first program really simple while you're launching. It will be used as a stepping stone for expanding your business and expanding your coaching programs in the future. But this simple start, it works magic. Now you have to ask yourself some really important questions, so you might want to write these down, and I'll admit I'm gonna move a little fast, okay? So the first question is, what is the result or payoff that's going to come from the program? We want this to be super crystal clear. What does a person get out of working with you in this group manner? You especially want to consider the pain points that your ideal client has and what it is that they want to accomplish. And most importantly, you want to be using their language when you're talking about it. Now, if you want a little more details on that, because really what I'm talking about is what is your power offer? There's a video that I actually talk about the power offer, or maybe it goes on that side, whatever side. There is a video that I talk about the power offer, so you'll want to check that out later to help you with this step. The next question that you need to ask yourself is, what is the system that you are going to use to get that particular payoff? Because we want to advertise the payoff, because we want people to know that we're going to give them what it is that they need. But we also want to talk about the system that we're going to use to give them the payoff. And so an example that I gave in a previous video is talking about, I made up the PIN system for a coaching program related to helping a person write and self-publish their first fantasy novel in 90 days. And so the PIN system was P stood for plan, where you're mapping out your plot, your characters, your world, and you're also clarifying your target audience for the book. E was execute, so that was writing the book, developing your characters, sharpening their dialogue to create a more engaging story. And then N was going to be nail, where you would nail down the final perfected novel and get it published on KDP, right? That was the example that I used. But the concept is there's a very clear framework. People know the overall steps. They don't know the exact steps, but they know the overall steps that they're going to take that's going to help them get from point A to point B. It lends to confidence and it's a great marketing tool. So we want to make that our second question. What is the overall system that we're going to use to get to the payoff? Write out the broad overarching steps that you need to take, and then give those like 3 to 5 steps that you map out, give it some sort of name. The next question is, how many weeks is your program going to be? Now, my recommendation is that it's no less than 6 weeks and that it's no more than 6 months. And in fact, if you actually feel like your entire program to get to the payoff is going to be more than 6 months, what I believe is that is actually evidence that you have 2 separate offers. So let's say, for example, that if you're a social media strategist and your payoff is that you're going to get a person from 0 Instagram followers to 50,000 Instagram followers, but you think that's going to take a year to do, what I would do is that I would actually create 2 offers. The first offer that we're going to launch with is maybe we get them to 20,000 followers or 20,000 followers, and that'll be in that first, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, right? And then you have what's called a back end offer, or like a follow-up offer that costs a little bit more, but then you take that person who already bought your first offer and you've already proven to them that they'll get results, then they buy the back end offer, which takes them from that 20K to 50K or 10K to 50K, right? So if it's going to take more than 6 months, I would encourage you to create kind of a smaller initial payoff, and then your back end offer is the bigger payoff. Okay, so that is your next question. How long is this going to take? All right. Another question you need to ask is, how often are y'all going to meet on these live training sessions during the program? So one of the things that I like to do is I like to do like 90 minutes 2 times a week. Now, you do not have to make this something that you do into perpetuity, like you're doing this forever. We're really doing this for the first launch because we're actually going to do some things with these live calls, okay? The way that I want you to structure these live calls is that for the first 30 to 45 minutes of the call, you are teaching. You are straight teaching them whatever they need to know, whatever strategies they need to know. And then for the rest of it, it's going to be Q&A, where they're asking you questions about what you just taught them. We are going to use that first 30 to 45 minutes later on to build out self-study courses and other materials for your coaching programs, okay? But that's the reason why I'm recommending you meet 2 times a week for 90 minutes for this first launch. Okay, the next question you need to ask is, what is your refund policy going to be? This is super important. You always want to protect your business where you can. So I'm going to recommend that if you your refund policy includes something like a time limit. So you might say, within 7 days, within, 14 days, or within the first 30 days, depending on how long your program is. But then I also want to encourage you to have some requirements around actions that they either do or do not take. So for example, since we're going to be meeting twice a week for 90 minutes, then you might say you cannot have attended more than 3 calls to get a refund. But I strongly recommend that whatever your refund policy is, there is a time limit to that refund policy, and then there's some sort of action connected to it. So refund policy, super important, protect your business. Then you got to figure out what is your pricing and what are your kind of payment plan options. Payment plan options are your friend, okay? And I know that sometimes we want to get as much cash in as early as possible, but payment plans are your friend, baby, especially the way this economy is set up in 2025, okay? Payment plans are your friend. But here's the thing. If you are going to price your program, this first program at let's say we're going to make it $1,000, and then you want to set up your payment plan, do not make your payment plan longer than the length of the actual program itself. And I say that because what I've seen is that oftentimes if your payment plan goes longer than the program itself, after your program ends, people don't want to pay anymore. And so next thing you know, payments start getting declined and returned, and people start reporting payments and crazy stuff like that. Chargebacks increase after the program ends. So what you want to do is make sure that your payment plan is shorter than the length of your program. So if your program is going to be 6 weeks, that means you need to have a 2-pay payment plan, right? A payment plan that first time when they get accepted, and then 4 weeks later, they submit that second payment. Or if it's 6 months, maybe your payment plan is like a 4-month payment plan, okay? Make sure whatever that payment plan is, it is shorter than the length of the program. And to incentivize people to actually pay for like the paid in full option, you want to make it where the total cost of that payment plan is actually higher than the total cost of your program. So if your program's $1,000, then that means the payments for your payment plan should add up to like $1,200, right? To give them an incentive to pay in full so they can save that money. The next question and the last question that I have for you that we definitely need to have answered is, what day are we going to launch this program? Now remember, I said we're going to do this in the next 30 days. So that means that whatever your launch date is, it needs to be no more than 2 to 3 weeks from the time that you are actually going to announce and start taking calls. So if we're working on this, if we're giving ourselves, 3 to 4 days to get everything mapped out, which it doesn't have to take that long, okay? We can map this out in less than 24 hours. But if we're going to take, 3 or 4 days to map all this stuff out, that means that you shouldn't take more than like another 21 days or whatever to have your launch day, okay? Step 2 is to announce your new program. And there's multiple ways in which you can do this. Now, like I said, I want you to leverage the connections that you already have. And the reality is, a lot of us, by the time we get to the place where we're turning something into a business, especially us ladies, by the time we want to turn something into a business, we've already been doing it. That means that you can do things like make phone calls to people who have expressed interest or who have like referrals for you, make those phone calls. And yes, I'm saying make the phone calls instead of sending emails, because a lot of people don't read their emails, but a lot of people will pick up their phone. Now, if you've got a lot of folks that don't answer the phone when they don't recognize the number, start with a text message to let them know who you are. And if they're a referral, whoever it is that referred them, have them reach out to the person and let them know you're going to contact them, and even give them your phone number, right? So that your phone number is in their phone and they're going to actually answer when you call, all right? So you're going to reach out to people that you know would be interested or referrals by phone. You are going to post on social media with your power offer. You are going to, yes, go ahead, leverage your email list. You're going to email people that you know with your power offer. And then if you're a person who has like live events or spaces where like you're typically like showing up inside of in your community, you want to take advantage of that. So be prepared to like have the conversation face to face about what it is that you're doing. Because I know a lot of us women, especially us Christian women entrepreneurs, we go to lots of conferences, we go to lots of live events. And so we're meeting tons of people. So have the conversations, right? And what we're going to be doing from all of these different conversations, whether it's a phone call, whether it is going to be, the social media post where you're telling them like, hey, hit me up in my DMs if you're interested, or drop in a phrase, drop this emoji in the comments if you're interested, or people that we're talking to in the live event. What we're trying to do is we are trying to get them to our step 3, which is going to be a 45-minute phone call. All right. We want to talk to these people and just get them scheduled on a 45-minute phone call. So let's talk about step 3. Step 3 is where we're going to be providing value, and we are going to be pitching these people on the call. All right. To be clear, the purpose of your call when it comes to communicating to your client is that it is to help them get from where they are to where they want to be. All right. So if you are a fitness coach, then you want to help them get from weight A to weight B. If you're talking about like a parenting coach, right? You want to go from daily tantrums to, a tantrum maybe once a week. I don't know. But whatever it is that your payoff is, where they are and where they want to be, where they want to be should align with the payoff you have for the program. But you need to make it clear that your purpose on this call is to help them get from where they are to where they want to be. And so when you start the call, you're going to make that very clear that that is the purpose of the call. You're also going to let them know that you're going to ask them some questions. They're going to share what it is that they need. You're going to give them You're going to give them some strategies to make that happen, but you also have an offer that you'll tell them about at the end about how you can help them actually, accelerate their results, or talk about if we like working with each other, if we enjoy the time that we spend together, discuss how we can work together to actually make these things happen. And I can help you move a little bit faster than you would be able to doing this on your own, right? So you're going to start by framing the call, and then you're going to spend 2/3 of the call actually delivering on the value piece. You are going to be asking them questions, uncovering their needs, letting them talk, okay? They should talk more than you talk during this first 2/3 of the call. And then you are going to give them some strategies to help them make this happen. So 2 or 3 good solid strategies to help them, again, get from where they are to where they want to be. And then after you've given them that, you've got them excited, you've got them pumped up and feeling like you can do this, then you ask the question of, are you ready for me to share how we can actually work together and I can help you make this happen even faster? They're probably going to say yes, because at this point they're excited. So that is when you do your pitch. Your pitch does not have to be long. In fact, I don't want your pitch to be long. I want your pitch to be very short, okay? One of the things that a lot of people do is that they actually make their pitch long and complicated, and they end up talking themselves out of the sale because the person's already excited. You've given them value. You've given them strategies, right? They've gotten to know you. They've gotten to know your personality. Y'all have probably had some good laughs and some giggles and stuff. So you're in a very good place. And then what happens is you start pitching your program. It's long, it's drawn out, it's too many details, it's overwhelming, it's overcomplicated. And the person just says no, or I'll have to think about it. We don't want to do that. So what I want you to do is you're going to build a simple pitch, and it's based on the stuff that we talked about in step 1, okay? And you saw how step 1, I didn't ask for too many details. Keep it short, sweet, to the point. Make it a very simple, easy journey that they can follow. And you can create, if you want to have like a presentation, because some people are very visual, you can create it on your computer if you have like PowerPoint already, if you have, what is it that Apple has? Presenter, something, whatever Apple has. I never use it because I'm always using PowerPoint or I'm using Canva, right? So use these very simple tools to create your pitch, no website needed. But most importantly, we're going to keep this simple, straightforward, to the point. We're going to be transparent about the price, and we're going to make it easy for them to buy, okay? Now, at the end of the call, after you've done your very simple, ideally 5 to 10 minute pitch, you're going to get their commitment to sign up or establish a very clear follow-up plan with deadlines. Now, the reason why I say a very clear follow-up plan with deadlines is because sometimes a person needs to go have a conversation with their spouse. Because I work with a lot of entrepreneurs who are trying to build their business, and especially since I'm often talking to people who are like very early on in the process, part of my conversation with them, because everyone who comes to me seems to be married, I tell them, hey, go talk to your business partner, aka your spouse, because baby, I'm trying to keep you married, okay? Because the last thing you need while building a business is marital chaos because you're spending this money and your spouse was not okay with it, or your budget was not okay with it, okay? So in those situations, I will work with them and establish a very clear follow-up plan. Hey, have the conversation with them over the weekend and then hit me back on Monday. If I don't hear from you on Monday, I'll be reaching out on Tuesday. Very clear follow plan. And then be a woman of your word and follow up. Step 4 is that we are going to collect coins and keep people excited. At this point, we have gotten people on the call. We have been pitching to people. We've gotten people to say yes. And so now what are we going to be doing from the time that the person said yes to the time that we have our launch day, okay? So one of the things that you are going to be doing is you're going to be collecting the coins. So once they say yes, you're going to send them their contract if you're using one. And I always recommend that if you're using a contract, which contracts are a great idea, by the way, but I always recommend that if you're using a contract, if you have the opportunity to get an attorney to look it over to make sure it's clear and it's actually enforceable, because sometimes these templates that people put out here are not actually enforceable. So you're going to send them their contract. You're going to send them their invoice. And that invoice, when you create that invoice inside of Square, inside of Stripe, or wherever you're creating it, make sure that you've already set it to recurring if they're on a payment plan. Set it and forget it. You do not want to have to remember in 30 days to charge them again. No, like literally set it as recurring from the moment that you create it. So the contract, their invoice or first invoice, and you're going to also send a welcome a welcome email that sets their expectations on when the program is going to launch, when they're going to get access to the community, who to ask, how to ask their questions if they have any, and then we just want to keep them excited, okay? How do we keep them excited, especially if maybe this is the first person who said yes, and we've still got, 10 days, 15 days until launch day? Here's what you're going to do. Between the day that the person signs up and the day that the program launches, I need you to make sure that your people are hearing from you every 2 to 3 days. Because if they don't hear from you, they're going to start to panic, they're going to start having buyer's remorse, and you're going to start seeing people refunding, okay? So when they're hearing from you, they are going to be getting, again, value. We're going to be reinforcing expectations, but we're also going to be giving them ideas, strategies. What are things that they can do to get ready, to get prepared? And another thing you can do that actually helps with continuing to build that excitement. One of the things you can do that helps the people build that excitement is you can actually give them access to the community before launch day. And you're inside of there, you're engaging with them, you're encouraging them to introduce themselves, you're encouraging them to share cool information about themselves, make connections, get to know each other, that kind of stuff. The other thing that we're doing during this time period is now you're actually putting together your detailed lessons plans for your live calls. I'm going to be honest with you. When my husband and I built our first 8-figure business, what we actually did was we did all the steps I'm telling you, by the way. We did all these steps. But one of the things that we also did is that we didn't start building our detailed lesson plans until we had already collected money. We already knew that we were going to have people coming in. And to be frank, we actually built these detailed lesson plans throughout the program itself, because as you're actively in the program, you're going to see in step 5, you're going to be getting insight and getting new information, and you'll be wanting to make tweaks and adjustments to those lesson plans anyway. So don't do all the lesson plans for the entire project, but really start for the first couple of weeks, get those mapped out so that when it's time to launch, you are ready and excited to go. And for my girlies who are very big on worksheets, can you create worksheets now? You absolutely can, but you do not have to. Do not feel obligated to create a bunch of worksheets early on. This is something you can do later on in the program, and especially when you have like the money to hire people to help you do it, especially if that's not a strong suit of yours. Now launch day has come. What are we doing? Launch day of the program, we are having our kickoff call for the first session. Here's a mistake that some of us make. We want to hop straight in and we just start teaching. But the problem is, even though we've been sending out the emails, even though we have been talking about it inside of the community when we gave them early access, we still need to reiterate our expectations for the journey that they're going to be going through in the program. We might want to reintroduce ourselves. Depending on whether or not you have a small group, like maybe you've got 5 people, you might actually want them to introduce themselves to each other live on the call. Or if you've got a bigger group, like 20 to 30 people for this first group, that might be a bit much, okay? We also need to set ground rules for our time inside of the program, as well as we need to start working on mindset issues. If there are any mental barriers that your people have or objections that is going to stop people from being able to be successful in your new program, you have to address them early on. Otherwise, you're about to waste a bunch of time with these people. So start with mindset on the kickoff call, okay? Expectations, ground rules, mindset. Now in the next call, we can start teaching the core materials. But first, we're going to start with mindset. Now here's one of the great things that you can do. And this is something that I always encourage. On your kickoff call, there needs to be an assignment that's attached to it at the end. It might be homework related to mindset, or it might be homework that prepares them for the next live call. Either way, it is something that they are going to be actively doing from now to the time that they have the next call, okay? That is a strategy that I've seen. It works very, very well. It keeps people excited, and it also encourages the clients to talk to each other inside of the community, okay? We're all trying to figure out this same thing and do this same thing together. And matter of fact, in between calls, which you're going to be doing throughout the entire program, in between calls, you're active inside the community as well. You're going to be checking in on them, asking how they're doing, and you're also going to be like giving advice and answering questions that they have about whatever assignment or homework you've given them in preparation for the next call, or that is based off of what you just talked about in the last call. That's something you're going to be doing throughout the program, and you're going to start that immediately after launch day, okay? So we know what launch day looks like. We know what we're going to be doing in between live calls. And then on the live calls that are coming up, what you're going to do is you're going to go to that strategy I mentioned before. That first 30 to 45 minutes, you're going to be teaching the core materials, and then the remaining 30 to 45 minutes is going to be Q&A. People are asking questions about what it is that y'all have gone over, or about assignments or homework or whatever it is that you have, okay? Now, the reason why you want that first 30 to 45 minutes to be just you teaching and you're not doing any Q&A during that time period is because we're going to take that 30 to 45 minutes, we're going to cut it out, and we're actually going to put it inside of a membership platform that we are going to use for future programs, for future courses, okay? Because when you create a membership site for a course or for a program, now what you can do is you can sell a course by itself, or you can have the course included in future programs, and now your group coaching program becomes evergreen, where you don't have to have a launch day for each individual groups. You don't have to do cohorts if you don't want to. You actually can have people coming into your program at any time because you don't have to reteach the materials. They're already inside of that course that you've created using the teachings from this first group of programs, okay? That's the reason why we want this for 30 to 45 minutes to be pure teaching. And if you're wondering, what are you going to do with the live calls when you're no longer teaching on them because you've got the course built after this first group has gone through? It's going to be 100% Q&A, which also means if you want to, you can shorten the calls. As a matter of fact, one of the things that's going to be very important here in step 5 is you're not just, having your launch day during your teachings and engaging in the community. You are going to be getting feedback. You need to be paying attention to the types of questions that people are asking. You need to be paying attention to what's going right, paying attention to what is going wrong, paying attention to additional things that people are requesting from you, places where maybe it is a good idea to create a worksheet or to create a checklist or to create, a quiz or a knowledge check or whatever, right? As you're going through this first round of the program, you're going to be paying a lot of attention to all these different details so that you can make things better in the future. No program is perfect when it first comes out, and no program is perfect when it gets to the peak of its performance. Your program is never going to be perfect. You should always be looking for and getting feedback, paying attention to what's going on so you can make the program better, okay? But yeah, that's it. Those are your 5 steps that are going to give you an amazing coaching program that was launched without a business plan, without a fancy website, without this high intent sales funnel, which I can teach you how to make later on, but without all those fancy bells and whistles. So now that you have the plan, go take action, okay? Stop slowing yourself down. Stop using the business plan and all these other barriers to hold you back. I've literally given you the blueprint for starting your coaching program in the next 30 days. So just go do it, okay? Now, as a help to me, now that I've given you the entire roadmap, like the video and go ahead and subscribe to my channel because I will be giving you more goods in the future. And then also, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to have a link down below that is allowing you to get a checklist of all the things that I just shared. Okay, so I created a checklist from you so you can go boop, 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 boop. I've answered all the questions. I've done all the steps. Okay, so I've done that. The link it's somewhere around here and it's down in the description. So download that and get started, girl. Go make magic. Go make things happen and let me know how things start to turn out because I am so excited to see what it is that you build now that a business plan is no longer in your way. All right, get to work. I'll see you in the next video.